time we will go to the question and answer time. Could you give me a time when I have to stop for question and answer?
All right. I think, Dr. Sally, you can do the presentation until probably the time now is 5:18 here in Thailand, maybe until 5:45. And so we will have about 15 minutes Q&A. Is that okay?
5:45.
5:45.
Okay, I will try. I will try. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you for the Pasavara and the other organizers. I want to thank my translators, the AY leaders, and the students. And you know, I think a lot of people are interested in this topic on bond to bond. I'm going to share my screen right now. Something is not right. Okay. All right. You know, when God said it is not good for man to be alone, he was actually saying we want man and woman to have a meaningful relationship and to enjoy intimacy with each other. So he planted in us this need to bond with another person of the opposite sex. Now, I know that at AIU, we have a lot of young people whose hormones are jumping. They have a great interest in the opposite sex. So can we make some sense out of how we are feeling? You know, we have all these feelings running through our hearts, and we wonder, can we trust our feelings, or should we be guarded and let reason and self-control guide us? Okay. I took this picture several years ago while I was in Hong Kong. Oh dear. Yes. I was walking down the street, and there's this preoccupation with sex everywhere today. We are bombarded from all sides with Hollywood, TV, internet. We have so many pornographic websites logged on by 64 million people every day. And it is a fact that 80% of Christian teens are dabbling with premarital sex. And a lot of these teens, a third of them have unplanned and planned pregnancies, and which end in abortion. Now, how many of you have parents who have given you some sex education? Now, I'm sure that very few of you have had your parents talk to you about sex, isn't it? Now, they themselves are not even sure about what it is many times. And, you know, it's really sad that where sex needs to be taught is in the home. But we hope that this afternoon, we can create a safe space here at AIU for this discussion on sex to happen without shame or condemnation. It's time to share the facts, to dispel the myths. So it's very important that we learn how to stay safe while forming relationships with the other opposite sex. And a strong bond is very important that will result in a fulfilling marriage in the future. Now, the bonding relationship has often been degraded to what happens with animals. Sex is a purely physical relationship rather than a deep, satisfying, and meaningful bond between two human beings who truly love one another and know one another. Now, this afternoon, I'm going to share with you based on Christian values. And we hope and pray that you will be persuaded to make the right choices in your decisions on relationships. Now, last week, we talked about how to create a strong bond. First, we have mental, emotional, social, and spiritual bonding, long before we end up with the last one, the sexual bonding. And we also said that in order for two people to have success later on in a marriage relationship, it's very important to share beliefs, values, and goals. And both sides need to understand where the other person is coming from. Now, this afternoon, I want to share something that was done by Desmond Morris, a zoologist, because he found that there is a predictable pattern of bonding in humans that transcends culture. In other words, whether you're in Thailand or Timbuktu or America or England or Africa, we can always count on this 12-step bonding process. And it shows how a human pair bond begins and ends or is consummated at the end with sex. A Christian author, Donald Joy, applied Morris's research findings to the spiritual context of how a man and woman can discover the attraction to one another and move through these 12 steps in 4 stages as they are drawn to each other through friendship, courtship, and finally marriage. Now, let's look at these different stages. In stage 1, there is no touch. The first 3 steps occur rapidly and almost subconsciously. Many bonds break in the process when these steps are bypassed. So these steps are a must in order to have a strong bond. Number 1 is eye to body. In other words, the man and the woman discover each other. Probably the man will be looking at the woman, but nowadays women also are looking at the man, isn't it? And we evaluate based on size, shape, color, age, and personality. And as we look at the person of the opposite sex, we will give a kind of a grading, right? Maybe, oh, this one is perfect, 10 over 10. That one, 5 only. Or, you know, maybe, oh, this one is okay. Maybe I'll give it a 7 or 8. So when there is interest in a person of the opposite sex, then you move to the next one. The next step is eye to eye. Yeah, you notice there's that person that you're interested in, and you catch the eye of that person, and there's eye contact. Now, this eye contact is very important because if there's no interest, then the man or the woman will break the eye contact and move away. Okay, so no interest. That's the end of the bond. But if let's say that the eyes meet and there is interest, then this is very important because it will lead to the next step. Oh, you recognize the other person, you give a nod, and you say hi. Okay? Now, notice that eye contact is very important in this bonding process. At this stage, the eye contact is just very brief. Now, at a later stage, eye contact is very intense. And I have found that couples that are having marital problems, they do not have eye contact. They don't even want to look at each other because of the problems between them. Okay, now from here, what's the next step? Eye to body, eye to eye. Then the next step is voice to voice, a very important step where you start talking and communicating and sharing. And here you develop a very close relationship as you share hobbies, you tell each other what you like or dislike, you learn about hopes and dreams and the future, what are their opinions, their pastimes, and a couple should spend hundreds of hours at this level in order to have a strong bond. And it is this, at this phase, that is important to look at the beliefs, the values, and the goals. And it takes a long time to get to know a person. In this stage, it is recommended that you spend at least 300 to 500 hours. And don't think that's a lot of time, you know, because when you have interest in a boy or girl, you can always, get the person on the phone. And there's a lot of talking, right? On the mobile phone. Maybe you have to pay a lot for your telephone charges. So these 3 steps are important, very basic steps. Okay, let's move to the next step. The next stage is the first touch stage. Now, in this first touch stage, we have step 4, hand to hand. First touch is now encountered. It's almost very innocent and non-sexual, okay? Like a handshake, or you're walking along and your hands touch and you want to cross the road, so the guy grabs the hand of the girl and you walk across the street. Now, if the girl pulls away, what is that telling you guys? She is not interested in you. Forget it, right? You stop right there. And but if the girl lets you hold her hand, then you have a chance. And the next step is when the guy or the girl puts the arm around the shoulder. Now, at this, another boundary has been crossed. The shoulder embrace is a gesture of ownership. Okay, it says more than hand holding. This person belongs to me. You're telling the whole world now. The relationship continues with limited eye contact. You notice the couple is still side by side. Okay, step 5. Remember that. Step 4, hand to hand. Step 5, arm to shoulder. Then it moves to the next one. If the bond continues, then we have arm to waist. All right, a transition also occurs in this step. There is greater intimacy now. The arm to waist tells people, this is my partner. And it signals romantic interest. Okay, so there is a little bit of romance starting, and real and genuine communication develops at this stage. There are lots of personal disclosures. You know, you share secrets, you discuss the basic issues of life. You tell each other what your goals are, and you get to know each other more intimately. Values, goals, and beliefs must be scrutinized at this stage. If you want to get serious, you need to know, do your life goals and personal beliefs blend? Do you bring out the best in each other, motivating one another to get better grades, to higher challenges and accomplishments? Or do your grades go down? If your grades go down, it's a bad sign. Do you know your partner's expectations of you? Can you fulfill them? Or will your partner allow you to develop your talents and grow as an individual? Now, at this stage, at this step number 6, if there are any doubts that both of you are not meant for each other, it's better to break up. Then the hurt will not be so deep. Okay? Step number 6, break up. If you find that you are not compatible. Because if you continue to bond and get closer together, there'll be a lot of heartache when you break up, past step number 6. Okay, the next stage is a danger stage. Okay, as you get more intimate, you notice that the couple turns towards each other. All right, and there's a hidden agenda here. And the hidden agenda is sexual intercourse. Face to face. You face each other. There's hugging, there's kissing, there's prolonged eye contact. And close body contact will bring on sexual arousal. So this is very, very dangerous for couples, because when kissing takes over, can you talk when you're kissing? Verbals shut down. Okay, there's no talking. And this is not too good. And the unmarried couple must guard the display of physical affection for one another very carefully from this point on. It's dangerous. If you break up, you will suffer a lot of feelings that are negative, like depression and anxiety. Now, from here, if the couple continues to bond, then they go to step 8, which is hand to head. And here, one's hand is used to caress or stroke the head of the other while kissing or talking. And this intimate gesture of touch is reserved for those who have earned their right. In other words, there must be a very high level of trust between the two, because this signals a deep bond of friendship, love, caring, and trust. And moving on to the next step, from here is hand to body. At this level, the hands explore the partner's body. Breast fondling becomes an important focal point for the male. Much petting occurs, and heavy petting takes over, and the couple will find it very difficult to stop right here without going on to complete the sexual act. Okay, so if you are not interested in having sex, don't come to this step. Okay, you should stop long before this step. This is a dangerous step. Step 9. But of course, if you are married, then you proceed on to the next stage, the 4th stage, reserved for marriage couples only. Mouth to breast is step 10. Step 11 is touching below the waist. And step 12 is where you have the culmination of a bond, sexual intercourse, which is not for people who are not married. Okay, so there are some people who say, oh, you know, we just do until 11, you know, we just touch and pet and do what is called petting to climax or masturbation on each other without penetration. But if you are doing that, then you have lost your virginity. The line of purity has been crossed. And if you persist in continuing this habit of petting and bringing yourself to a climax, you will find it difficult to enjoy intercourse at its best. You know, it is not the best. So this is done within marriage, with the culmination of a pair bond that can result in pregnancy, and it's God's plan for the human race. There's nothing wrong with sex. It is the best gift that God has given to man if it is followed correctly, if it is done correctly, and it will ensure the propagation of the human race. And also it will provide a place where people can feel secure in the intimacy of love. So stages 3 and 4 actually are best reserved for married couples. Everyone crossing the boundary from step 6 or 7 risks the trauma that follows a breakup due to the intensity of the bond. Young people who desire to play safe, please stay at stages 1 and 2. In other words, up to step number 6 only. If you want to strengthen that special connection with the person you eventually end up with as a life partner, please stop at step number 6. Don't go any further. Now, what are the results of rushing the pair bonding process? Now, the results is quite bad. Harmful things can happen. You see, when you rush the process without taking time to form that bond, it will be a very weak bond that can be broken. And when, if you have people who go around having a boyfriend or girlfriend, many of them, one after another, and all they are after is sex, then you will find that the bond is very weak. And when they finally settle down with marriage, you know, whenever you have sex with your wife or your husband, all the memories of previous partners will play on your mind. And it is just emotionally very draining. Okay? And probably this is one of the greatest contributors to divorce when the steps are skipped. What else? Tendency to accelerate the steps with the next partner. You know, you have guys or even girls who have multiple partners. You can tell, you know, they will rush through it. Let's say that they have already been kissing and being very intimate. They will rush through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and go to 7, 8, 9 very quickly. Okay, just like you know them for a few days or a week or so, and they want to have sex. You can tell that. This is the way you can identify predators, you know, those who are out just to have a good time and to have sex with somebody who is innocent and clean. So there's this tendency to accelerate the steps. And if you have too many partners, you're just playing around, having lots of partners, you will find that you cannot settle down to one partner for life. They say that if you have more than 5 sexual experiences, you will find that it's very difficult to stick with one person because the bond, the glue is weakened and the glue wears out. It doesn't stick anymore. So, you know, we need to make the choice. When we are dating around, let's be careful. Let's not go into the danger zone because date rape is one of the most violent crimes in America today. And what can we do? Well, we can do group dates. Okay, don't put yourself in a dangerous position. Never be alone with a teen or young person of the opposite sex. If you still want to date, set high standards. I decide every day to keep myself pure. I will not engage in petting. I will not go to my boyfriend's or girlfriend's house when no one is home. I will not go to parties where I know there will be drinking, drugs, and sex. Okay, you make up your mind. Set rules for yourself as to your behavior on a date. Think before you go out on a date. Plan your dates. where you will go, what you will do, when you will go home. All right, don't just leave it to chance. Ask your partner, where are we going first? What are we going to do? Are we going to sit in some dark corner looking at the stars? We're asking for trouble. And always rehearse what you will say in a situation where your friend is making undesirable advances. Like if you're going out with a predator, girls, rehearse what you will say beforehand. For example, you're making me uncomfortable. Please don't do this. I don't like it. If you can't behave, I'm going home. Or stop it. I don't want this. It really bothers me to have to keep pushing you away. This is not my idea of a date. Or shout, I'm being attacked. Or shout, fire. And get the attention of people who are around to help you. That's why it's never wise to go into some dark corner where nobody is around. So my advice is make your decision not to dabble in premarital sex. Stay safe. If you want to stay away from unwanted pregnancy, ladies, if you don't want to have sexually transmitted diseases or a weak bond, stay safe. Now you say, oh, but I have done it. As Christians, we believe there's hope. We make mistakes, but 1 John 1:9 says, if we confess our sins, he's faithful and just to forgive us our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. Okay, Jeremiah 31:3-4 says, I have loved you, God says, with an everlasting love. Again, I will build you and you shall be built, O Virgin Israel. And finally, Joshua 24:15 says, choose you this day whom you will serve. You have to make that choice. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. If you want to stay clean and stay safe, choose to stand on God's side. And his blessing is upon us to help us with our choices, particularly the very important choice of a spouse who will share the rest of his or her life with you. So I hope that you will stay safe, have fun, but be careful. Okay, that's it. My time's up. You're free to ask questions now.
Yeah, I have questions actually, but I want to ask first, is there anybody want to ask questions before me? Anybody? Maybe not. All right, so teacher, please allow me to ask a question. Let's say I have crush on somebody. You know, I like that person so much, and I'm just afraid to confess my feeling to that person. And aside from the eye contact, when is the best time and the best way for me to confess my feeling that I like that person?
Okay.
Yeah.
You already have eye contact with the person?
Sorry.
Yes or no?
Okay, let's say yes. Let's say yes. Yes.
Okay, let's say
Yes.
if you have eye contact and you already, have you gone to stage 3, voice to voice, step 3?
Yes, maybe, I think. Let's say yes. Let's say yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now it's during this time, the voice to voice, as you talk, as you spend time together, you know, if the other person is happy to be talking to you, then there's interest. Now, when will you say, the question is, when will you say, I like you? All right. Yes, your question.
That's my question.
Now, I would suggest don't rush. Okay, don't rush. Now, you could also get your friends to help you. You know, maybe you have friends among the girls. Ask them to help you, to ask this person. Okay, ask your teachers to help you. to kind of, assess whether you have a chance. Okay. But if you are brave, you will ask the question. Maybe after 100 hours. Okay. Talk first. Get to know this person.
Yes, teacher, but well, maybe the reason why she's keep talking to me because she just wants to learn something. For example, just practice English speaking skills. Maybe that's just the reason, right?
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's a good reason. That's a good reason. But whether this person will be interested in a serious relationship, you have to ask that question, right? But I suggest give her plenty of time. Don't rush. Okay, maybe after, like I say, 100 hours, you can start counting now. Okay?
Thank you so much. Okay. All right, so is there other person or anyone else want to ask a question? This is your time for you to ask a question, so you can learn something as well. Feel free to talk and ask a question, please.
Can I ask question?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Dr.
Yes,
Sally, thank you so much for your presentation.
You're welcome.
My question is for young people out here. You see, we have some students who have experienced like broken relationship, okay? Rejected by a girl, or so how to deal with that?
Okay. Now, rejection is not easy. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to be depressed. But we need to recognize that not everybody whom we want to have a relationship with will also want to have a relationship with us. It is a two-way street. So you need to be brave enough to pop the question. But when you are rejected, also be wise enough to learn to let go. Let it go. Try again. Right? Take it as a learning experience. When bad things happen, take it as a lesson. Yeah, and then move on. Because it's no point, there are some people who commit suicide over the fact that, the boy doesn't like me, so I go and jump down. What's the point? Right? What's the point? God has a plan for you. But he also gives you a choice. And he also gives the other person a choice. So you can't force people to love you. Love cannot be forced. It has to be natural. It can be developed. Yes. There are some people who hang around and wait for a long time. But I suggest that you pray about it. Pray long and hard about it. Okay? Yeah. And seek help. If you are depressed, seek help. There are many good counselors at AIU. Talk to people.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sally. There's a question here. When is the right age to have a boyfriend and girlfriend?
When is the right age? That one is $1 million question. Question is, are you ready yourself to be a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Remember at the last session, we talked about to have a list of values. Okay. Are you living up to those values that you want to see in a potential partner? Right? If you are mature enough to say, okay, I have a list of values that I want to see in the other person, and I myself have developed those values, then you are ready. Okay, then you are ready.
Thank you, Dr. Sally. I think there's another question here. How does a person build up the courage to commit in a relationship?
Many people are afraid to commit because they've had bad experiences in their history. Okay, For example, if you come from a divorced family, sometimes that will pose a problem. You cannot trust people. Okay. Versus if you came from a very solid family background, right? You also may have been rejected by other people as well. So how do you commit? You got to take the plunge, right? You got to take the risk. Love is a risk, and you must be willing to take it. Try it out. If it doesn't work, then be brave enough to say, okay, I will let it go. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sally. There's another question here from Sabahan Girls.
Oh.
This is a very interesting question, Dr. Sally, because you mentioned about different stages, right?
Yes.
The question is, how do we know which stage we are in if we are in a long distance relationship, LDR?
Long distance relationship, there's a no touch relationship then, right?
Right.
You can't touch each other. Yeah. But nowadays, there are lots of all kinds of ways that people bond. Even if they're in a long distance relationship, some people have sex over the phone or over the internet. Yeah. And they watch porn or they do all kinds of kinky stuff. So the question is, where do you want to draw the line? I suggested that you stop at step 6. Okay? Stop at step 6. But if you have a long distance relationship, let's get real. Okay, let's get real. I've advised many young people who have long distance relationships, and I said it's not healthy to have a long distance relationship for too long. If it's just 1 or 2 years, I would say it's bearable, you know. But if it's going to stretch even longer, then there are lots of risks that you are taking. Okay, one of the parties may find someone more interesting that is available while you are not available. So there are risks that you have to take in a long distance relationship. But that said, I also remember a couple that I know who was separated for more than 10 years and they still made it and they're happily married today. So it depends on how committed you are to the relationship. But it's not easy, okay? Not easy at all. Maybe it's easier today with FaceTime and, you know, the internet that helps with communication. But still that touch factor is not there. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Sally. You're raising your hand. Go ahead, please.
May I ask question again?
Yes.
Sorry. All right, so let's say I like that person so much, and then I'm just afraid to approach that person, and I pray to God, if this person is for me or not, will you give me a sign? Is that possible? Is that possible? Is to work on this? I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah, is that possible?
Asking for a sign, huh? I remember I did that once, but it was not a very good sign. Yeah. Asking for signs is possible, you know, it's possible, but it depends on what kind of sign you're asking for. Yeah. Whether it's a very clear sign or a very unclear sign, right? You have to decide on what sign you're going to throw out. And that's the difficult part. I think it's better to get counsel from people whom you trust, teachers, maybe the counselors, people you trust. Talk to them and get their opinion rather than ask for a sign from God, because it may work out the opposite of what you think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Thank you
takes
so much.
prayer. Right. Thank you so much, you, for your question. There's another question here again from Sabahan Girls. How long should we date someone before getting married?
Okay. It also depends on how old you are. Okay. Once I had a friend who was in his 40s, and he had his list all made up for many, many years, you know. And then he met this person, and within 6 months, he came to me and he said, yes, this is the one for me. I have all my checklists all checked, and I'm going to marry her. And they got married within, not long after that, maybe 9 months. Yeah. But if you are young, and especially if you are in school, take your time. Take your time. There's no rush. I would say on the average, to get to know a person real well, it takes at least 2 to 3 or 4 years. Okay, so take your time, don't rush, especially if this is a partner that you want for life. We are talking about long term, for the rest of your life. You need to get to know this person well.
Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Sally, for that very insightful answer. How do we help a person to get out of a toxic relationship? This is a very interesting question.
It's not easy. Okay.
Yeah.
In a toxic relationship, if you realize that it is toxic, that is step number 1. Okay. And then to take the next step to break up is not easy. But I would suggest that you get the support of good friends and people whom you trust, adults, to help you. Okay. Because if it's a toxic relationship, the other party might threaten suicide. Okay. It depends on how toxic, what kind of toxic relationship you are talking about. But the fact that you realize it is toxic is already a very good step forward. Okay. You just have to muster your courage and step out. But remember, get support from people around you. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sally. Yeah. Probably the follow-up question is, what are the signs that these young people are in a toxic relationship? What are the red flags that they have to look into?
Oh, there are so many red flags. For example, if you find out that the family history or background is not something that you want, okay? If you notice that perhaps this person doesn't have good relationship with her parents or his parents, that is a red flag, okay? Because this experience with the parents will be carried into your future relationship. So that is one red flag. And another red flag is if this person and you always fight, you know, like every week you fight with each other, you disagree with something, and then you quarrel, and then you get miserable and depressed. That is another red flag. Or if the person puts you down all the time. Okay, when you're with this person, when you're with this person, excuse me.
So guys, what is Dr. Sally is giving us now is some red flags. Okay, if you are in a
Sorry.
relationship, go ahead, go
Okay.
ahead.
So what was I saying? If this person puts you down all the time, doesn't even allow you to talk, there was a couple that came into my office one day. They were trying to enroll their daughter, and here the mother was talking, and then the father tried to say something, and she said, no, don't say anything, let me handle this, that kind of thing. And a few years down the road, this couple split up, even though they were married. So if your partner doesn't respect you, that is a very, very strong red flag that you should notice. Okay. And also another red flag is mental illness, schizophrenia. Sometimes these illnesses do not show up until later in life. So always check whether there is a history of mental illness in the family. Yeah, that's another red flag. Another red flag might be some health issues. For example, there is a blood disorder called thalassemia. Okay, and with this blood disorder, people who have major thalassemia always needs blood transfusions, and this will be carried to the next generation. So people with thalassemia major should never get married with another person who has the same disease. Okay, it's not really a disease, it's a disorder. So if you know this, then you have to plan ahead. I know a person who was very successful who had this thalassemia major. So whenever he dated a girl, he was very forthright. He would tell the girl right on the first date, I suffer from this, okay?
Yeah.
And so I cannot have children.
Amen. Right.
So
Thank you so much.
I think he's still single today. So if you want children, then you should not marry this person, right?
Okay. Another question from Ajan Tantip. After a person made a mistake and go for stage 4, is it okay to get married to a pastor or to have a wedding ceremony in the church?
Sure. Why not? Remember, I said that we all make mistakes, right? But God is willing to forgive us. So long as we're willing to change and to grow and continue growing in God.
Okay.
That's not a problem. Yeah.
All right. Another question is, I want to have good relationship, but I'm not finding anyone. What should I do to find one?
Okay. First step is make your set of values and live up to those values. Okay. In other words, mature yourself. Work towards being the kind of person that you're looking for. And then I would say pray. All right. If you're praying 3 times, pray 6 times a day. Claim your Bible promises. Get close to the Lord and He will guide you. He will provide. I always tell the story of a friend of mine. She prayed for a partner, but nobody came. Nobody came until she was 50 years old. Out of the blue, a man called her, and he was her previous employer. Just out of the blue, she got married. Yeah, but she waited patiently for God to give her a right partner. Yeah, the one that she would be happy.
So keep looking and
be patient.
Be patient, yes. Right?
Yes. And enlarge your circle of friends. Make friends with different people.
Right.
Yeah.
Questions from 1, 2, 3. How do we resolve issues in the relationship?
How do we
resolve issues? Conflicts.
What kind of issues? Conflicts?
Maybe conflicts. Yes, or misunderstanding.
You know, in a marriage, like I told the other group of ladies who attended my last seminar, 69% of issues will never be resolved in a relationship. 69%, very high. And it's a matter of learning to accept the other person rather than try to change the other person to fit what we want. Okay. If it's not a matter of, if it's not a moral issue, just learn to let it go. You know, maybe some habit that this person has, you have to learn to accept it. But if it's a moral issue, then both of you need to sit down and talk things through. If you can't resolve it, then go see a counselor. Talk to someone you trust who is older and wiser.
All
I
right.
see in the chat there's one question about some people get married very fast because they know they cannot control their sexual urges. Yeah. It's a way out, but I would say if you have not spent enough time bonding with the other person, your partner, then your marriage will not be a strong one. You know, you got married for the wrong reasons. We don't get married because we want to have sex. We get married because we have met someone whom we love very deeply and want to be committed to each other for life. So don't marry for sex. It's a wrong reason.
Wow, thank you so much, Dr. Sally. You, Saranyu, what is the next?
Yes, sir. After this part, if there's no more question and answer, the next one is gonna be closing remarks, sir. Which is that part is Pastor Vara, sir. And as well, the closing prayer gonna be Dr. Sally. Yes.
Okay.
Can you unmute? No. Sorry. Hello. Okay. Sorry, we're using 2 laptops here. I have around 15 of us here in my room watching your presentation. So we have got a lot of youth here. So thank you so much, Dr. Sally.
You're most welcome.
And I'm sure we have richly been blessed with the last session 1 last Sabbath.